Per usual, we will be reciting a tale of the place that inspired tonight's terror tale, then the terror tale itself. I must admit to a sense of unease sitting here upon this chamber of death. Admittedly, this is a departure from my usual haunts. Where I live, we have the second most dangerous roads in the U.S. Not overly frightening, but upon learning about the legions of dead who met their end upon these roads, I must color myself frightened. There's a particular road here that averages about 15 deaths a year, 74 in 5 years. With a 102-year history, the road is littered with death and deadly tales. At night, this place takes a much different tone. I have driven down it many times, but to sit here collecting knowledge of death, it takes a sinister aura. Particularly when I learned of the disturbing case of Judith Richard, the girl who was rumored to haunt the surrounding forest off this broken road. Not unusual, to say the least. Several, if not millions of miles of forest are rumored to be haunted in the United States, but this one in particular got my attention. Usually I ignore the legions of haunted forest rumors I am bombarded with, but the idea of a mass burial site being discovered in a particular section of road where people vanish has me captivated. This led to me being told of a frightening and interesting phenomenon known as highway portals. Absurd. This was my first reaction until I camped out for a couple of days near the site. The idea of a highway portal comes from a hypothesis proposed by several paranormal pundits, who put forth the idea that the time-space continuum can flux, and in contrast to scientific belief, there can be lapses in space and time which cause past images and sounds to overlap in the future. And since time is a human construct, that perhaps the energy fields around them remain. A phenomenon like the Marfa lights happen here as well. The temperature changes and the sun goes down. Many attribute the portals to this, but it fails to give an adequate reason for the audio being reported. The downward refraction of sound can explain what others are hearing. At lakes, for instance, the downward curve of sound waves can travel across a lake when you shouldn't be able to hear them. C equals 1 plus 0.5y. The waves change direction, then bend downwards. Many believe it to be a combination of these two scientific occurrences, but I must admit to being a skeptic, but there's times sitting here where I question my own beliefs. Now to the unsettling case of Judith Richard. In the hot midsummer of 2001, Judith ran away from home, taking refuge in the forest off the side of this particular highway. An alert was issued, and many in the area began looking for the teenage girl. A hunter's trail cameras captured the girl running frantically, frenzied with fear in a repetitive and awkward pattern. Hours upon hours of footage was recovered, showing the girl running, then stopping, then cowering, then hugging her knees over and over. Small differences in the video footage revealed this was not a loop, but repetitive behavior by the frightened girl. Some trail cameras were more sophisticated than others. Most did not have audio, but one did, and its contents are completely unsettling. It won't stop. I fell again. I can't escape. The audio picks up. Of course, this could be in reference to the forest itself, but some maintain the girl was captured in the highway portal, either in life or upon death, and is caught in a horrid, never-ending cycle of time. This was dismissed by many, including myself, until I saw other footage where we can clearly hear the girl screaming as if she is falling down a large hole. Then her screams amp up. No audio complications were found in the footage. Her body was never recovered. Judith Maria Richard was never found. I decided to camp where her prints and multiple body imprints were found. Being here brings about a sense of ill ease. In the distance, screams could be heard, a reoccurring occurrence at these locations. And in my dreams, I saw a girl decaying and withered, fitting the same description as Judith. One could easily chalk this up to my incessant research of the girl's disappearance. I left recorders around the area and no screams were recorded, though I heard them nightly. Video recordings yielded no results. One night as I slept, I heard a ghastly collision. I instantly recognized it as the sound of a car crash. Whilst wandering out to investigate, an unbelievable occurrence took place. I found absolutely nothing. No people, no cars, just nothing. Wandering over 2 miles down the road yielded 0 results. Back at camp, I sat bewildered as to what happened. A dream, perhaps, or maybe even a tree falling, but I heard the very distinct sound of twisted metal. It goes without saying, no sleep was had in the next 24 hours. It was at this time I penned tonight's terror tale, Hillock. It was in the late winter of 1965 when the megalith first arrived, appearing suddenly with no explanation resting upon a hill of withered flora. The megalith often illuminated with the transient charge of mysterious purple energies. Gray and smooth with silver edging, resting in a surreal quietude, it stood as an eerie sentinel, gazing with ill intent upon the small village below. Even to this day, I still remember the vivid scene of black-eyed Susan, mixing gingerly with budding beets drops as my little sister Morena gleefully pranced about blowing dandelion seeds gently into the distance. Why didn't I stop her? A malicious beguilement would be her doyle. What chance did she stand against the cruel hands of fate, against such a horrid kismet? Arriving at the base of the hillside, we are both stricken with awe, simultaneously astonished and aghast at the mere sight of it. Morena, she seemed drawn to it, instantly obsessed with the malicious structure. She hastens uphill, kneeling before its majesty, letting the transient energies wash over her. As her eyes turn a voided purple, she gently begins to weep. As the years passed, her demeanor changed. Originally very gentle and forbearing, her benevolence changed to malevolence. No longer reposeful, she now lingers in a loathsome misery. Most of her days were spent foraging for animal bones. Their desolate, bland image of death reflects my deranged sister's newfound demeanor. Unfortunately, she was forced into a sub-rosa existence. Morena's life became a clandestine chain of suffering, with each day becoming more furtive than the next. Her care became difficult. We were forced to keep her chained in an abandoned storm cellar, with little lighting and in a homemade latrine. Over time, the void purple would completely overtake her cornea, iris, and pupil, leaving her gaze apathetic and daunting. Strangely, her other features would come to possess an otherworldly allure. Her hair a Beatrice blonde, her skin a lustrous perfection, and most bizarrely of all, she seemed incapable of befoulment. As for the megalith, we thought it was best to be avoided, for those who attempted its destruction were struck down to a smoldering groom by precise blue bolts of somber lightning. Morena became wrathful and waspish towards us. She constantly recounted the exploits of the celestial kin with fanatical repetition. Morbidity would consume her appetite, with her feeding habits shifting from formal human consumption to a strict diet of osseous matter. Poor father. He would be her first victim. Upon discovering she had broken her bindings, he attempted to restrain her. I would find her atop father, with her mouth placed upon his, and with one mighty jump, she bites into his teeth, chewing them vigorously, then swallowing with glee, while dragging our screaming father to the glowing megalith as the somber lightning surrounds them. With astonishing strength, she begins to prise father's bones from his writhing body. No blood would dirty her skin or garb. It would simply roll off, never leaving a single stain. Delicately placing father's epidermis, tendons, and innards upon the megalith, Morena then sits upon the ground and begins voraciously consuming father's bones as the megalith rises high into the air, being repeatedly struck by somber lightning as a bust of father's head appears on the megalith, screaming in agony as an amber ichor gently flows from its rotting muzzle. The denizens of our small village became addicted to the bizarre amber substance, the excessive consumption of it causing them to undergo a physical and mental metamorphosis. Slowly, they became violent of mind and misshapen in body. Their skin became a deathly yellow, appearing more as a bruise than a functioning epidermis, as visions of grisly, macabre violence ran rampant through their feeble minds. Eventually, the eyes of the denizens would come to match that of Morena, turning an identical void purple. The amber ichor appeared to flow endlessly from father's bust, its consistency made of a thick mucus mirroring that of egg yolk. Those of us who hadn't ingested the vile ichor lived in fear of those that had. We spent our days in hiding, hoping for a sequestered escape route. We waited in vain, for the deformed denizens surrounded our village, holding us hostage. Father Nathaniel would be their first victim. Whilst the priest read aloud his scripture, he was captured, mauled, and lamented with foul tongue as he was brought before Morena, who slowly removed his bones, and just as Father before him, his remains were placed upon the megalith, which once again rose into the heavens as a bust of Father Nathaniel appeared beside Father's. Screaming in unison, they both ooze amber ichor from their screaming mauls. The following days would bring about perverse orgies and a natural birth. Once inseminated, the malformed women would give birth in a mere matter of days. What would spawn from their womb can only be described as otherworldly. Small green circular gems roughly the size of a human fist, would spew forth in droves, covered in a milky white film. They would then be stacked one atop the other in piles standing several yards high. Routinely, the gems would rattle and vibrate in unison with the malformed. It was in these bizarre instances, strange high-pitched voices would echo through my ear. We shall pass through the eternal gate. All will kneel before our banquet. This insidious phrase would be repeated again and again, until I was driven to the edge of insanity. Eventually, food became scarce, and as the overwhelming pain and desperation of hunger set in, I began to contemplate a most heinous solution: the amber ichor. To the shock and dismay of many unmutated, we resorted with heavy heart to consuming our beloved pets, and whatever we could catch scurrying about the village. As our stomachs shrunk and our bodies became famished, our clothes began to act as dirty rags barely clinging to our delicate frames. Completely emaciated, we began to develop tiny sores around our face and back as lice began to feast upon our diseased bodies. Our appearance changed from strong and vibrant to gaunt and infirm, as despair and the hopelessness of hunger drove some to the most horrid solution: cannibalism. Others, weak from starvation, resorted to ingesting the amber ichor and began to mutate, for they could no longer bear the pain of a dwindling stomach. Choosing neither mutation nor Thespian diet, I began to succumb to the combined wrath of captivity and indecision. Lying prone upon a small patch of the dandelions, absorbing what I believed to be the last few rays of sun I would ever receive, I became eyewitness to yet another atrocious ritual. The deformed denizens began laying hand in hand upon the ground, stretching far into the distance, as wide, radiant smiles stretched unnaturally from ear to ear as their gaze met the heavens. Seizing violently, they began to make sharp, shrieking noises with their throats while Morena undresses and climbs atop their lowering megalith, as transient energies wash over her delicate frame. Somber lightning transverges, opening a gate to the unknown, which birthed a harrowing atrocity. Slowly floating down from the somber gate, the abomination makes itself known. My terrorized eyes rested upon a giant detached head with a line of human bodies hanging from its neck. The number of bodies hanging are in direct correlation to the amount of beings sacrificed in its name: Father, Morena, and Father Nathaniel specifically. The head is clad with bloody, matted, multicolored hair: brown, red, black, and blonde. The hair is scraggly and scarce. The face is devoid of a nose, with smooth yellow and brown skin just beginning to rot, with the eyes bulging and glowing a solid deep purple. The monster's tail of human bodies quickly took the form of Father Morena and Father Nathaniel, and began cursing the unmutated in their own voice, as beams of light cascade from its bulging eyes. Caught in the creature's gaze, the unmutated are paralyzed as the creature began to slowly devour us, one by one. Too malnourished to move, I closed my eyes and prepared to be devoured, only to find the creature had had its fill and returned to the great beyond. Only myself and a handful of others managed to survive. It's been 12 years since the incident, with no trace of the megalith, the monster, or the mutated denizens. Alas, I lay cursed to have the knowledge of the universe's atrocities, and cursed to exist in a constant anxiety, fearing the emergence of another. Why, oh why, didn't I stop her?